Alright guys, we're going to do this without you guys being able to see my feet really. So talking about a stiff deadlift, and again, I tend to teach stiff deadlifts before I teach real deadlifts because people have all kinds of really stupid, crazy ideas, and I mean that they are really stupid when it comes to the deadlift. Because people have this idea that a deadlift is a back exercise, and they're going to round their back and they're going to pull up, and that is everything that every health expert on the planet will tell you is a horrifically bad idea, especially with the little weights that people tend to use when they're doing a deadlift, 200-300 pounds. And if you guys are going through this flexion and extension, you are going to throw out your back. So what the deadlift is it's a pivoting of the pelvis, okay? So basically my femurs poke into the pelvis, right? And then I'm rotating my pelvis over that point, if that makes any sense. So really, I'm going to get into kind of this position, right? Where my abs are pushed in as tight as possible. I actually am going to try to be neutral here, right? I'm not going to go into that posterior pelvic tilt for this, right? That's going to be very dangerous for this particular one. And in fact, if anything, I want to go a little bit into anterior. If anything, right? I would rather use side towards anterior pelvic tilt rather than posterior. And so what's going to happen here is I'm going to go into a neutral position. Nothing here changes. And basically, if I were to push my hips back and I didn't change somewhere, I would fall over on my ass, okay? Because my weight's shifting backwards. So we will naturally, if I stand here, my legs, knees are not locked, right? I know I said stiff deadlift, but that does not mean you lock out your knees. Please do not tear out your ligaments. So, shoulder width apart with my feet here. I am looking straight ahead. It's okay if you look a little bit low, but I kind of want to keep my eyes at a neutral height, right? I don't want to be looking up because that's going to cause me to overarch my back. I don't want to be looking at the ground 4 feet ahead of me, as sometimes people say about squats. Do not do that. If you do that, your body's going to follow your eyes and you're more likely to round your back. So I'm going to be looking at the same level of my eyes the whole time. And oftentimes, like, I'll go a little bit above head height and I'll go 12 to 20 feet away, right? I might look at head height 12 to 20 feet away because then that point is not going to change much depending on the angle of my body. So I'm keeping my eyes in a neutral position. I'm making sure that my core does not change. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to push my butt back like I'm trying to find a wall, or I'm, on the side of the road and my car broke down. I'm trying to get somebody to pull over to drive me somewhere. So I'm going to stick my ass out there, right? So I'm sticking my ass out, right? And now I'm starting to feel a lot of stretch here on my hamstrings and glutes here, right? So from here, I'm going to squeeze my glutes as hard as possible. And when I come up, it's going to force me, hopefully, into posterior pelvic tilt. So my ass is tucked under, and because I'm squeezing tightly, my hips project forward. And this is another place where people get it wrong, is that when they come up, they're like, okay, hips need to be forward. Okay, do you guys see what I did there? Right? Notice that my hips do not move. It's my upper back that's, my lower back that's pushing my shoulders back, right? Versus that. So you see that my hips tuck forward and come forward a little bit, but it's not me arching into that position, okay? And that's very important when we get into kettlebell swings. So, because levers, like if you think about a teeter-totter, you have two kids that are the same weight, let's say they're 50 pounds each, right? And you have the teeter-totter is not set up properly, so the one side of it is longer than the other, right? Whoever's on that longer side is going to have their ass on the ground. Whoever's on that shorter side is going to be way up, okay? And so the same is true here, guys. Right now, my back right here is taking absolutely zero leverage, right? Because I'm right above the point of rotation here. The further away I go here, the heavier the leverage is on my back, okay? And so if I am holding a bar and it's got, 100 pounds on it, and I'm going like this, and my arms are traveling forward, I'm adding all kinds of leverage into that low back. So what I want to be doing here, guys, is when I go down, I basically want to be putting the weight right over my arches, right over my shoelaces, right? So whatever tool you're using, in this case I'm using a kettlebell, right? I'm going to go shoulder width apart here. You could use a bar if that's what you have. You can use dumbbells if that's what you have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my knees slightly bent. I'm going to push my butt as far back as I possibly can. Now I've got that stretch. I don't give two shits how close my weight gets to the ground. Okay? I know it's a deadlift. I know when we get into Romanian deadlifts, we're going to eventually get to the point where we're bending our knees so much that we can get the weight to the ground, let it sit there for a second, and pull it back up. But we're not doing that yet. Okay? So what I'm doing here, pushing back, and now my hamstrings have told me I can't go back any further. So I'm going to squeeze my glutes to pull myself back up. Okay? This whole time I am thinking about keeping my shoulders back and centered and structurally sound, right? But I'm not letting that weight go too far forward, and I'm not worried about how low the weight goes, because again, that's the focus, guys. If I say that weight must touch the ground one way or another, I'm pushing back, and my hamstrings and my hips are not going to let me go down any further. So where is that extra range of motion going to come from? It's going to come from your low back, and you're going to hurt yourself. So that's your stiff deadlift, guys. We will be progressing on into more traditional and more generally liked deadlifts, but the reason, again, why people tend to say that the stiff deadlift is a more dangerous movement is because people are not hinging at the hips properly, right? They are... Well, I mean, that's really what it comes down to, is that they're not hinging at the hips. They're creating that some other way, or they're locking the knees out as they're going. They're like, oh, I'm just going to lock my knees out so that I'm not going into a Romanian deadlift. No, keep your knees slightly bent so that you're not hanging off that ligamentous tissue, and then push back and focus on that squeeze from your butt. Don't worry about whether or not your hips are projecting forward. If your ass is tight enough, they will project forward properly and they'll tuck under. So that is your stiff deadlift, guys. I hope that's helpful, and we'll move on.